Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do, I'm not doing the Empire, although it's an Empire band. I also should mention, before I get into what I'm going to be talking about, I've been taking in some other music. One from Jared Draugen, who used to be in Disc Trails and Telescreen, and I did just talking about Disc Trails a few, like last week, maybe research, and I realized he's got a band he's been doing music for called Must Be the Holy Ghost, which is really good, and I ordered some of it. Be talking about it soon. Um, really liking that, so it's fun to stumble upon this stuff, even though it's many years ago when their music was made, but they're still around. So, but today's review is about the long-awaited, delayed for my the albums of the year stuff, partially at least. Um, it's known as both Falling Up and or slash the Chilling Alpine Adventure, and the album's called the Chilling Alpine Adventure. Or Falling Up presents the Chilling Alpine Adventure, which was released today, December 27th, 2024. I know it's the end of the year and everything, and I know the last Falling Up and or Jesse Raborti have a tendency to release albums late in the year, because I remember the Falling Up self-titled album back in, it was like 2017, came out like it came on my next year when I was doing that whole thing. So, but it's sort of been a lot of work, and it's not. The thing is, the Chilling Alpine Adventure is going to be the name of the band now, I guess, and so it's sort of a transitional album. But Falling Up itself, I know about Falling Up. I got into them years ago, just briefly as possible, because I discovered this sucker when this came out. And actually, I knew about this before it came out, long like over a year. So somehow I got wind of them, largely through the Deer Hunter community. I think maybe Casey had talked about it, but Casey Crescenzo of the Deer Hunters on the River Empires album, of course. So, but Casey Crescenzo of the Deer Hunter also worked the year before that album came out on the album Fangs. I'm thinking that he wrote something in MySpace, on the MySpace blog, when they had blogs in there, about Jesse and Falling Up and working on this album Fangs from 2009, and then talking about the river. That's how I found out about it, because I would not have known about Falling Up before that. But this to me, not that I is like a massive deal, but probably has been my favorite Falling Up record. I have these other records of theirs, their other CDs, their earlier stuff, Captiva, um, Dawn Escapes, which is like early mid 2000s, and the debut album, Crashings. And Crashings, and I think Dawn Escapes are largely considered almost overtly Christian rock. And I'm not normally into Christian rock, despite being the fan of Mute Math and King's X and The Reign of Kindo and Dirt Per Robbins and a few others. I'm not a fan of Neil Morse, largely because it is Christian lyrics. I'm Jewish. But anyway, then they have this album Captiva, which I haven't even broken the seal. This album still is more in that vein, but it's alternative rock with atmospheric art rock, progressive kind of stuff. But working with Casey was sort of the thing, and then I got into this, and I got into and the River Empires obviously before that, and then the subsequent albums after that. One being, it's the most rated album on Rate Your Music, Your Sparkling Death Cometh, which that album, this was like the sort of transition, and Jesse talked about that. After I was obsessed with the River Empires, I wanted to hear everything I could from him, including the side project, the Gloomcatcher, which put out an album the same year, the same day as the River Empires are out record. And they put out another album and like one or two EPs. But I wanted to hear more Falling Up, and the Christian part really wasn't present. I do have this album, Silver City, which is like a Christian. It's not Christian, but it's Christmas music actually reinterpreted. They were doing these vinyl. I wanted to buy one. This was like the most affordable one. I didn't buy one. This was recommended. So, um, but they put out some other records besides the self-titled, which was last. That was like 2017. Um, I mean, they have. If you go, they released like five albums in like an 8 year period. After Sparkling Death Cometh was 2011. Ours was 2013. Midnight on Earthship were 20. Those two were like released together. One was more narrative. After the whole thing with the River Empires, Jesse and I was actually talking. Kevin Pollock of all people, I know, was like aware. I've sent him a message, see if he could actually have the River Empires made into an actual series. All this stuff. He was trying to get involved in Hollywood. He's done books. He's done soundtrack stuff for television and for games and stuff. So he's Ours and Midnight Ownership. Ours is like the more narrative one. Midnight Ownership is less so, but then the Silver City that came out in 13 as well. But the self-titled that was actually 15, wasn't 17. The self-titled Following Up album, and that was supposed to be their last album, their final album. And I really liked that album, although I didn't go back to it. It wasn't as memorable. It was more stripped down. Um, and Following Up sound is at times very big and layered, and a lot of textures, electronic textures, with guitars and keyboards at points, especially on Your Sparkling Death Cometh, and that's why Falling Up the self-title was different. And then Jesse has put out, I want to say Jesse Raborti put out at least one. No, he's put out actually three, technically three listed on Rate Your Music solo records: Into the Winter in 2021, Adrift in the Whereabouts in 2020, Bethel Woods original soundtrack. So I mean that was for like a game. That's really what he's been doing, stripped down kind of soundtracky um, stuff, and not maybe of the same spirit of even the River Empires, or not as much, or like some of the Falling Up stuff that I really like. So this album that just came out, the Chilean Alpine Adventures, also to note that the title of that, and then now the name of the project or band, is the name of the second to last track on Fangs from 2009. So and I revisited that today, and it's a good track. There's a lot of really good tracks on this record. However, I can say about this new album, the Chilean Alpine Adventure, it's 10 tracks. I think this might be the best thing he's done since the River Empires. The thing I'm enjoying it the most, at least. I mean, this is just initial impression. We'll see in months, years from now if that holds up. But it's very conceptual, very cinematic, or my initial impression the first two times hearing, I was like, it's almost best thinking of it in terms of a story, narrative concept, rather than just the songs themselves. And now hearing it a few more times, I listen to it like 4 or 5 times a day. It's even the songs are starting to really reveal themselves even better. The early single Five Angle is really good, and so I was always already really intrigued, but I was like, yeah, it's still kind of Falling Up, and I've always wanted to like Falling Up more than I have, even though I do like them a lot. But whereas I love the River Empires, but and I thought with the self-title, I was like, well, that's probably maybe their best record, and I kind of over time like Fangs a little more than that, but this album I think is at this point I like more than both. Um, Man, and there's a lot of things to say, a lot of quotes. The concept is probably the thing I'm enjoying the most about it. The term, the Chilean Alpine Adventure, to me strikes me as some sort of like story, like world building story of some people in some kind of predicament, trip, an adventure, whatever, in the Alps, in the mountains, within the colder climates. But also, was it the search for someone or something, or is there something else? Now, I got into some of the lyrics today, and I'm getting more and more of like a conspiracy slash cult kind of narrative concept about two people, maybe, and maybe one at some point falls for the cult and the other doesn't, and they're trying to escape the cult. But then it could be a plot like it's like an underground society, but set maybe both in a cold climate, also having to do with time and space. So let's just go over the Waterfall House, 3 minutes and 51 seconds. Airy since the starting as the opening track, starting of a narrative. Yeah, I have like two people or couple. The line, there's no beyond. If I just end up there without you, I'll fly through the airwaves, channeling through things you're next to. All the spirits take me down to sleep if I can't choose. Some far place where we run to orange windows because the weather is crazy and the wind sings a heartache. I thought of the weather being crazy and orange, thinking of maybe that, because we've had wildfires, of course, every year for many years, and Jesse lives in Portland. Maybe that was an influence on that. I like this track. It's a decent like opener, but not my favorite track. So the second track is the single we've heard for the last month and change, Five Angle. Super big vocal lines, very dramatic, catchy and atmospheric, which is kind of like Falling Up and the Chilean Alpine Adventure now in a nutshell in some ways on this album. The line, "Oh my God, it's just a dream. I could have sworn we pledged allegiance. We stood together, faced the beast, and watched the storm light up the ceiling. Save us, save us." Jesse has some falsettos in here when he says save us," which sounds like either channeling a female character or a child, like a kid. But great vocal line in the last verse. "You watch the gray take over glass from your chair under the gable, and so you climb into the telescope. Again, they gather at the grave." So someone died. Someone, over someone's death. Maybe this process is to avenge a death of someone. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a really well written, flowing track. Very kind of big sounding at times, but catchy and very energetic. So the third track, probably the catchiest track on the whole record, that's Reanimation. And the people on the Patreon have probably heard this for a while now. And he posted an image on Instagram a little while ago. I liked it, but I hadn't heard. I know why now. The chorus on this is just super memorable and catchy and poppy. But that's Reanimation takes so much persuasion just to make a copy kills you in your sleep. It has these vintagey synths. It's great. This is a banger. It's one of the best songs of the year for sure, even though we're at the end of the year here. Recruitment sounds like the sacrifice of a loved one for some cult. To the limit, to the limit, they pushed her. I was thinking of like Wicker Man kind of thing, maybe in a way. Yeah, the repeated chorus, to the limit, they pushed her to the limit. It's like they were being influenced by this group of people or something, and then they pushed their limits where it's getting way too more than they bargained for. All right. Track number that's Recruitment. I like Recruitment's one of the probably less distinct tracks at this point, but I still like it. 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Track number 5, Processing. It's 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Has this vocal melody um, that it brings up track your movements. The line, track your movements. I'm onto you. Show me the dream feeds that are moving you. I'll swim through channels and climb the lights. Sound like they're trying to escape, trying to run. But then the piano echoes that melody. There's a piano part, and I love it when that happens. When a band will take a melody it makes me appreciate the vocal melody more when I hear it from an instrument, a piano, and then I think, oh, the original melody, sticks out even more. But it sounds like conceptually like the hunt for like a fugitive or someone escaping a cult. And then the instrumental part in the outro is really dreamy. There's also the chanting that really works. So I know that Jesse's done that kind of chanting. He did it in the River Empires. A lot of his music uses that chanting, but it usually works really well for me. So the sixth track is called Counter Moves. Opens with this sparkling ivory keys piano, very slow tempo, but it's really pretty. The line, "Out into the wild, all the stones you hope to step in single file, but oh the odds, dark frozen gods, and a figure eight on an endless plane is going to take a while." So it's really someone again. It's an escapist kind of story in this world building that maybe that the Chilling Alpine Adventure is going to be is about, and it's going to be about. But the song builds with Jesse's really emotional, like crying out vocals. That's now there's fire on the mountain. There's leaping off the mountainside. Chlorine's in the water, and a rasps in the baby's cry. So they had a baby, or you hear a baby. I'm not sure. A kid who was maybe with it, trying to escape, trying to take him away, save him from the cult. And a wave like a monster, and a flash in the sky. But I got you, honey. I'm holding you now. Please don't close me out rather. Um, that it kind of builds like there's like 3 or 4 tracks that build up like that, and then they kind of have like a percentage of like a minute or 45 seconds that kind of is all instrumental or is calming. It's like the after the climax of that track. We get some gentle, clean guitar, post rock sounding guitar at the end of it. I don't know if it was Nick Lambert, it might be. Um, so track number 7, Autumn. Really great track. Fat vintage synths open with this. I mean, I liked some of the textures that they chose, that Jesse or whoever else played the synths chose on this record. It almost sounds a little bit like the Things theme. The Stranger Things theme sounds very like early 80s vintagey, could have been 70s even. Synthesizers. But very haunting and mesmerizing track at times. The first 3 minutes. The line, "No, they don't know me, but they're watching me like I'm tiger's prey." It's actually Autumn 38, not Autumn. Autumn 38. Found out answers, but all of them lead down another maze. I'm on the floor and wasted into the carpet. I pray. Um, so maybe they were drugged or something, but again, the conspiracy cult underground group organization vibe is being brought up on this, even though a title like Autumn 38. I don't know what the 38 mean. Maybe a group of 38 people or 38 degrees. I don't know. But then the dreamy line is comes in at the end. You don't know me. You don't own me. I'm only for this. It's echoed in a higher octave on the second or third time around. And it's doubled with Jesse's vocals. It builds and echoes. It gets what was it? Yeah, lots of like, and this is not the first time there's several times when Falling Up has done this where it has that like wash of like layers of guitars. I mean, I think in other records, especially on Sparkling Death, it got to be too much, but I think it's used just the right amount, maybe not even enough at points in this record. And this is one of the tracks that's used. It doesn't go on too long. So here it's really used effectively. Um, but it's almost psychedelic in a way in that sense. But it's dreamy and you get that wall of sound. But yeah, Autumn 38 is got a lot of moments I enjoy on that track. It's very mood, very atmospheric, of course. But so track number 8, Double Afterlife, 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Very fast, energetic section really helps the song. After a song for about a minute, after 1 minute, at about 1 minute. But the line, "Was it worth the tears down to ones and zeros when who you are implodes? Obvious beginner setting silent dinner and all you are exposed." Some of this, I mean, some of the lyrics are poetic and in the they work with the meter. I think sometimes some of the terms that Jesse uses for the narrative, and that kind of lends to the question: well, is it a full on conceptual, you know, record story, or is it just songs that the lyrics sound good how he sings them? I'm not sure, and they worked how they rhymed. But then it gets really the part that got I think of this song the most. That's the first minute. The faster, more up tempo section. All this time is just a memory. The start and then the end of me is somehow fused. I was born into the afterlife, traveled down the weather line. I'm wind and rain. So I don't know if that's supposed to be illustrating like narrative from like weather, like wind and rain, the atmosphere, the air, the beyond an actual human. I'm not sure a person. Um, but the last minute is like an interval segue. So yeah, I mean it has that fast, really like the drum parts fast in this section. Um, but yeah, another track that has the last minute is like an interval segue piece that's really calming. Comes down from the high energy. Um, so track number 9, Tall Grass in the Lobby, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. I like this song, although I'm not as into it as maybe several of the other tracks. I haven't been attached to it yet, but I like a lot about it still. Lines like "Tall grass in the lobby, quick snake in the field. I guess since I'm leaving, it's time to be real. Like hell, they are dreamers, or else I'd belong. This place is exactly what I knew all along." That totally speaks to being like, yeah, someone who's in a place they knew they were suspicious about and they knew that something was fishy about and they got to get out of Dodge. Very dramatic. That part gets very dramatic. It ends around the 340 mark. The line, "Last time I was cryptic and now I am bored. I can't get a reaction and so I'll be forward. They took all the magic and let me to believe." Maybe they were brought in for some kind of purpose or something. I don't know. Then there's a 1 minute instrumental outro. In this case, instead of being calming and slower, it's actually fast and heavy. And then you hear Jesse yelling a couple times. I'm not sure what he yells out. The lyrics aren't on the Bandcamp page, but I'll leave a link to the Bandcamp and the Spotify for this, of course. So then the final track, the versions, which might be my favorite song on the record, but there's several other songs I love. 4 minutes and 26 seconds. It has the chorus. I can't keep running from you. I can't keep purple and blue beneath the dark version of truth. I can't keep up with your movements. The places you're floating through, your dark version. It's your dark version of you. Um, what happens is you get that chorus, he's singing, singing, I can't keep running from you, I can't keep up with your movements. It sounds like he's saying turning blue. But then he has a quiet part which sounds like either like piano, or I can't remember if it's just piano or acoustic guitar, where he repeats that, and I love it. Just like the echoing of the melody on an instrument, I love it when a singer will sing a very intense, kind of almost fast part, and then slow it down and strip it down. You appreciate the fast version after you hear the slow version because the contrast really works. It's very sad. The quiet part where Jesse and the piano part reminds me of Imogen Heap's song. There's one part I thought of it 3 times today. Imogen Heap's song, the first track off of Sparks. You know where to find me. And only one part of the song. It's at 3 minutes and 20 seconds in the fifth verse. That line, blue and green, fresh eyes on me. I'm young again. Very much this sort of atmosphere calming, that part where he's just kind of like frustrated. I can't keep running from you. Like, I'm not sure if he's running from the people after him or her, or is it that he's running from their couple? And I'm wondering if that's it. Like the one person turned and sided with the cult, maybe. I'm not sure. That's the kind of impression I got from that. But yeah, that's gorgeous. It's just, it totally hits the spot every time I hear it. It's fantastic. Um, so I mean that the version, all my favorite tracks on this album, the version, that's Reanimation, Processing, Autumn 38, and 5. I mean, this is a fantastic record. I mean, I'm not saying it's album of the year because I haven't done my album of the year yet, even though we're on December 27th. But I put it at kind of fighting in there. And after listening to it a few more times, there's only one strong criticism I have of this that still exists to some degree that I felt with the other Falling Up records, is that there's a sameness sometimes, especially of Jesse's vocals. And while I think there is, I think with this album, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it just kind of works for the most part. And the whole conceptual part in my head, at least, kind of supersedes any kind of issues I have with some of the similar textures and vocal lines that are in the same key. I know people love your Sparkling Death Come Up because their Sparkling Death Come Up has some great moments. It's just like a whatever it is. It's almost like an hour long. It might be long, almost. I mean, the River Empires works because partly because it's just a different kind of music, and it has so much instrumental music with it. They're different kinds of songs, but I think, and this is maybe the fact it's been whatever 7 years since the last proper Falling Up with this group. It's with Nick Lambert, and it's not Josh Troy. It's a different gentleman. Jordan Wood is the drummer. And then Daniel Elder also plays guitar. So it's a slightly different group, but I know that he's worked with those two guys in the past. But I think Jesse sounds a little better, both from a vocal like clarity standpoint, and also just his voice sounds more mature a little bit. Even though I like his voice on a lot, I love the right voice on the River Empires, of course, and some of the Falling Up stuff still. But I feel like he's actually, he's perfected some of his vocal style a bit, and just the writing, just the moments you enjoy, and then you just throw in the conceptual, probably his work doing these soundtracks and kind of conceptual story based world building kind of music he's done in the last decade, and probably is reflective on this record and why it came out so good. I think also they were inspired by, of course, Fangs, that era to some degree, so that's maybe one reason why. I don't know. um I think it's a combination of things, and maybe it was just a breath of fresh air. Like, I knew this album was coming out so late in the year, and I just was waiting for it, and it feels like it was worth the wait. Like, patience was a virtue that paid off. And we'll see. We'll see if 6 months from now, 3 years from now, the Chilling Alpine Adventure debut album, in effect, or the last font, whatever it is going to hold up as the record I'm sort of revering right now. But that's the thing that actually still highly intrigues me, is that not only is the quality of this album what it was, I know they worked really hard on it, but also the fact that this is a new band and it's a new, it's almost like Antimai with the Deer Hunter. There's going to probably be more parts to this sort of premise, concept, world building story potentially, if I'm reading enough into it and not reading too much into it at the same time, because it's very kind of, I get this sort of cinematic, adventure kind of story narrative. I don't know what other word you could use, in the mountains, in the snow, on the skis, whatever, on a snowmobile, within a cult, within this society about, it's very kind of classic tropes. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a larger conceptual thing, or is this just a one-off, and the band's going to be called the Chilling Alpine Adventure, but they'll go in a different direction and won't be related at all. I don't know. And is it related directly to, someone asked that question, to the track Off of Fangs, which I listened to that, and the lyrics do kind of, in a metaphorical way, kind of still kind of connect to it in some ways. So anyway, hope you people could get the chance to check it out. I know, again, it's late in the year. Maybe people will just put it on their 2025 albums list. It was around this time last year I heard the Pneumatic Transit, and that went on my 25, but that was officially released in 25 and 24. This is gonna have to be on my 24 list. I've changed my leaf on. I'm not doing the whole ending in November and going to the next October thing. This is still a 2024 album, so a big thumbs up on that. I'm gonna try to. I may do a video on that thing from Jared Draugen. Whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of the band. The band he's been doing. He's on Instagram. I may or may not do that, but I'll try to get back to 2008, of course, for Empire, and then eventually the albums of the year in the next probably month or something. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.